Hello, all, and welcome into Club Dub Podcast presented by SportsMockery.com. Kevin, Drew, and Eric back at it again. It's been about a week since we chatted. I was coming out of the other room. I was watching a little Thursday night football battle between the two teams that couldn't beat the Detroit Lions. But who did beat the Lions? The Bears beat the Lions. But anyway,
Twice.
Oh, really? Twice? Oh, yeah. I forgot we already played them once this year. I thought we had one more against them still.
You wish, man.
Yeah, I was look at me, wishful thinking. I put that in the bio, actually. I thought we had one more against them. Bears got the Packers this week. It's Packer week. We're going to the frozen tundra. Justin Fields is back. Tevin Jenkins might get a few more snaps this week. Allen Robinson's coming back. The Packers, they're going to be healthy too. No David Bakhtiari, no Josh Myers. They might be getting Jair Alexander back, so that's really going to be quite the
huge.
That's going to be quite the thing to watch as we go into Sunday night's game. But welcome into Club Dub, guys. It's been a week. How's everybody doing so far?
Better than the Bears.
Yeah, no kidding. How's the week going? Good and everything with you guys?
Not bad, man.
Can't complain. Kind of apathetic about this Sunday, but other than that,
Yeah, they had to put this game on Sunday Night Football. They had to keep it on Sunday Night Football, didn't they?
Well,
if you look at the slate of games this week, it's not like they had many good alternatives.
It's true.
Here's the thing: is I've had this feeling all week that, I'm not enjoying watching Bears football anymore. And it's really weird because I've never had this feeling in my life. I've always, even when they've been bad in the last couple of years, I've always enjoyed watching these games, but I'm so sick and tired of watching the same team every week do the same thing, score the same amount of points, run the same plays, the same bullshit. They don't change anything. I'm just like, I can't believe I have to watch 4 more games, 5 more games, whatever it is of this team. I want the season to fast forward. I want it to be done. This is the last meaningful game of the season. I want to see them beat the Packers. It's not going to happen, but I want to see it happen. I don't care about the other two Vikings. Vikings suck. Are you guys watching this game right now? They're terrible. I don't care about the Vikings and I don't care about the New York Giants game, and I don't even know who's on the schedule after those 3. But
Seattle Giants 2 against the Vikings, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's
so
right.
I just want to fast forward. I want this game to be competitive on Sunday, and after that, I wish the season would just end. I know it won't, but I don't know. Have you guys had those same feelings? Because I'm tired of it. I watched the game on Sunday, and I didn't even get emotional about it. I was like, whatever. I knew they were going to lose. I'm just not having any fun, and it's really tough,
I mean, the most frustrating part of all of this is a lot of people kind of sort of saw it coming because they feared that if Matt Nagy and Ryan Pace stuck around, that this could be what they were in for. The Bears believe that continuity might actually serve the team well. They might be able to upgrade the roster a little bit and sort of get over the hump from where they were last year, which was sneaking into the playoffs and, getting into a playoff game. But there was also that fear that the team was already trending in the wrong direction under these two guys. So why would you give them another year knowing that the quarterback situation still wasn't solved and the roster was getting old on top of all that? People didn't sense what McCaskey was sensing. And can you imagine what might have happened with this season if they hadn't gotten Justin Fields? If you thought the death march was bad enough already, not knowing that there's a young quarterback in the mix who might be able to help you, turn this thing around quickly, man, the misery of Bears fans would be 10 times worse.
Oh, no kidding. And look, I feel like the Bears ownership, my own feelings included, I felt they owed at least one season an opportunity to see how this shook out with a quarterback that could read a defense. And it just hasn't worked. Unfortunately, it just hasn't. And so, you combine that with obviously the extreme highs of 2018. I mean, if we think back to how everyone felt about this team in 2018, it was Chicago's reborn, essentially, right? And the last 2 seasons have been disappointing, but, you still kind of felt that maybe we can get out of this. Maybe we can play for something, from a Bears fan perspective, that there was still hope at some point in the seasons. They started out well enough where you could hang on to that. This season has been just woof. And I think people already had Matt Nagy fatigue. And the fact that it's been this whole, oh my God, start Justin Fields. What are you doing? Why are you starting Andy Dalton? All this whole outcry from Bears fans has just made this tougher for them. So I think we're just at this point where everyone only wants to watch Justin Fields. I mean, thank goodness for the ratings and for Bears fans' interest and everything. And quite honestly, just Chicago in general, that Fields is back and playing this Sunday night because it adds a little bit of intrigue to this game, just from a how's he playing perspective. And I see Cordell's comment here. That was all Fangio. Whatever, right? I mean, it was a decision made by
just like
by
the
Matt
Packers
Nagy.
this year. They're all
right.
Rodgers. It's all Rodgers.
Right.
It's, you know.
It's whatever it is. It was on the Bears staff. It was a decision made by that's not important. What's important is they were good and now they're not. And I think people just they want the season to end, and hopefully Fields gives them enough hope that it's worth trying to get through this offseason, because if he continues to look bad, I know people are saying, oh, it's just coaching staff, get him away from this coaching staff. You can look good outside of a coaching staff if you are good. Like you're so
there's ways to flash.
Absolutely. Exactly. So that's what Bears fans need to hope for.
I'm just tired of. I'm just really. I had Matt Nagy fatigue coming into this anyway, but I'm also at this point now where I'm just like, every game that I watch, what's the point? I'm like, so, and I love doing this show, and I love coming on here talking to Bears fans. We're already got like a bunch of comments rolling in. I love that. Thank you guys all for these comments right away. Leave your questions too. We have, as always, a couple of you guys have been on a lot of these shows. You guys know we do a comment section at the end. These guys have their mailbags. You can read those every week on sportsmockery.com. But I'm just so sick of watching the same team every week. The NFL is a week-to-week league. There's going to be some bad teams that make the playoffs this year. The Bears could have very well been one of those bad teams to make the playoffs, but they chose to run the same plays. They chose not to change anything. They chose to bog down with injuries and, hey, Khalil can get season-ending surgery. They chose all of these paths that shows that they don't believe in themselves. So why should we as fans buy into this? And it's just, we're going to get to talking about Bears Packers, but I had to get this off my chest. I was watching that game on Sunday. I don't miss a Bears game. I've been, I know you guys don't either, unless, it's a family meeting or something, but this is like, I'm sitting here and I'm like, I don't even care. I don't care. I know they're going to lose. Oh, great touchdown pass from Kyler to, Hopkins right off the bat. Jalen Johnson got beat. A great play from Hopkins. I'm like, oh, well, okay. Most of the time I'd have been upset about that. It's tough. I'm tired of this year. I want it to be over so bad. And I hate saying that, but because I love the NFL. We only get 17, 18 weeks of it, only 17 games.
Yeah.
It's a small amount of time, but I'm just tired of it. I don't know. I don't know if you guys feel the same, but.
To an extent, sure. I mean, I obviously we have a little bit of an obligation to continue watching these games to an extent for this show and content and everything, but just being honest with the listeners out there. But, I've personally been able to get through it by finding other teams that I like rooting for. Cleveland being one of them. The Bills are fun. To an extent when they're not griping about Bill Belichick.
But, I don't know. They might be fraudulent. They got completely embarrassed.
They got fucked
against Bill Belichick, man. That was an embarrassing game.
Big time. But there are ways to get through it. But I think one thing that's interesting is everyone has been so focused on next year and let's get a new coaching staff in. I'm looking at this list of coaches, everyone that has been a hot name throughout this season, like Brian Daboll to an extent, Kellen Moore as well. It is topsy-turvy. Joe Brady just got fired. I mean, this has been topsy-turvy. So who do you look at this is a surefire candidate? Maybe there isn't one. And so it's going to be a very interesting January as we get into after the Bears fire Matt Nagy and what happens with Ryan Pace. And there's a lot of intrigue there. But, I mean, to your point, Kevin, the slog of getting to that point is going to be lengthy.
I'm just tired of talking about who's going to coach the Bears. Is it going to be this person? Is it going to be this person? I don't care I do care. That's a lie. I very much care who's going to coach this team next year, but I wanted to be able to enjoy a team this year that has a lot of talent. They are better than the Vikings, man. Don't sit here and tell me this Bears team when they're healthy is not as good as the Minnesota Vikings. The Vikings are playing really well against Pittsburgh right now. They're off to a nice start, but man, this Bears team's had their number for years. They're better than the Detroit Lions. Those are 4 wins every year that they've been able to count on. I know they had a hard schedule, but come on, man. There's just been some of these losses. The NFC's wide open this year. This could have been a year that you sneak in and you win it, and that's what I'm most frustrated about.
That's no question. Sorry, Drew. It's just one of those things where, if they were healthy, they probably grab a couple more wins than they have right now. Unfortunately, they haven't been healthy. They've been getting a lot of injuries, and they just don't have the depth to survive the injuries they've suffered. And that goes back to the problem at the top, not just with Matt Nagy, but also Ryan Pace, because of the payroll issues, the salary cap issues, and also the lack of draft picks from all the trades they've been making over the past couple of years. You haven't been able to supplement that problem of an aging roster with more young and cheap depth. So you've been forced to rely on a lot of cheap veterans, 1-year deal type guys, and that's not sustainable. The Bears already tried that back in the early 2010s, and we saw what happened in 2014 when it finally fell apart, and it's happening all over again in 2021. And it's kind of ironic that a lot of people are comparing Nagy to Trestman at this point, because it feels like that Trestman-esque type of year all over again. So it comes down to, will Pace lose his job? Because that's the question people really need to ask at this point, because we can't really ask the head coach question until we know what Pace's status is going to be. Is he going to stay or is he going to go? Because if he's going to go, they're going to hire a GM first, and then the GM is going to hire the head coach. But if Pace stays, that changes the entire outlook of what they're going to do at the head coaching position.
They got to go strength here. They got to hire a guy with experience. I worry about Dable. I worry about some of these guys that haven't had a job before. If they're going to hire a coach, hire somebody with experience, please. I just don't trust the upper guys enough. I don't trust George McCaskey to go out, especially if they do fire Ryan Pace. I don't trust him enough to go out and find the right guy. He's talking to guys with the Giants, and he's got his league circle of guys, but he's hired tons of head coaches. Yeah, he's hired all these coaches, and they've all been bad. Go get a guy with experience, please. That's all I'm asking.
But here's the point on that one, though, right? Is if you're a coach with experience and you are no longer a coach coaching a football team, on a head job, there's a reason for that, and you have to evaluate why that didn't go well, or why things might be different. What might you have learned from that previous experience? And for a lot of these possible candidates, it's a little bit iffy. I mean, yeah, Jim Harbaugh is, I know, probably one of the hottest names out there right now, and certainly an excellent program builder and staff builder. I don't see it happening at this point, but that one makes sense because he has had genuine success in the NFL when he was in here. Mm-hmm. For some of the other candidates, I guess Josh McDaniels is the only person who kind of piques your interest because he's such an incredible offensive mind, play caller, designer, everything. You just hope he's matured from his time in Denver. Other than that, no one else excites me. Todd Bowles, who cares? Leslie Frazier, who cares? Unless you're talking about going and getting someone like Sean Payton. Now you're talking, but how he's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. Exactly. So these are the things that we say experience, but what kind of experience? You need to evaluate all of those. So I'll get to this in my final take at the end, but there's a lot of question marks in either approach.
Let's get back on topic here. Bears and Packers this week. Leadership from David Montgomery really shined post-game after the loss to Arizona. And this goes to my point where the Bears are in good hands with some younger guys next year. But again, there are some positions of strength that they do have depth in, and they can be competitive next year. But again, can you maximize those positions? Because it's your last year, David Montgomery. You're not going to pay him, especially with the way that things are going, unless you can get him on a club-friendly deal. But with the way Khalil Herbert played, you're not going to really give him a long-term extension. It's just not the Bears' way. So next season, when you have some guys come off the books and you got guys like Montgomery on the offense leading with Fields, and then you got Roquan on the other side of the ball, if there's a core here that's really talented and really special. And I really want them to succeed, and I think that they can, but you got to nail this draft, and you don't have a lot of picks to do it. But I want to hear from David Montgomery. What he said after the game was pretty inspiring stuff, and why he should be a captain of this team moving forward every week.
Could you talk about how perhaps, I don't know, excitement is the right word, but of the next 5 games, 4 of them are going to be against teams with losing records, right below the 500 mark. So you're still in the playoff picture. Could you talk about how that, helps you guys continue on through the season, even though you start with Green Bay next week?
It's simple. Just taking it 1 week at a time, 1 day at a time. You can only control the now, and that affects the future. So I come to work every day, getting the guys going. Ain't going to be no moping around. I'm not built like that. I've been built different my whole life. I'm not finna change now because it get hard. I'm gonna go into work, and I'm gonna get on everybody's ass, and they will get on mine too. And we're gonna go back to the drawing board. We're gonna figure it out. Because regardless of anybody else who want to give up on us, I ain't giving up on us. So that's what it's gonna be.
Going back to what you were just talking about going back to having fun, making sure you're having fun playing the game. Obviously, an entire locker room is not going to have that same type of attitude. So, as one of the leaders on the team, how do you try to relay that or remind your teammates of that type of thing so that they're playing that with that same mentality?
As I said, it's infectious. When you do something every day with the same person, you start to learn how they operate, emotionally, physically, all of that. You begin to watch them. You pay attention to them, and there's two things that can happen. They can completely ignore you and act as if you aren't there, or, like I said, it can become contagious of how you act, and you become intertwined with each other, and you start to feed off each other. And I know everybody in that locker room, and I'm not saying this because it's what's supposed to be said. I'm saying this because I mean this with everything in my heart. Everybody in that locker room care about everybody. We short. It's just this. If you pay attention to the games, we just this. But what you realize in the league, that be the difference. And you just got to keep going. Like, I ain't got no quit in my blood, so I'm going to make sure everybody else in there ain't got none in theirs either.
I mean, so there you have it. Quote of the year from David Montgomery, maybe the best press conference answer that we've heard all season long. It's hard for us as fans and us as people that cover the team. It's hard not to give up on a team that's 4-8, but he's clearly still there. He's clearly their best offensive playmaker right now. The only way they beat Green Bay on Sunday night is if Montgomery touches the ball 20 to 25 times a game and he's averaging 5-6 yards a carry and the Bears put up 28 points. That's and a couple of those got to be rushing touchdowns. That's their key to victory. It's going to be cold. You got to run the ball, and he's their best player on offense. He has been all season. Even with the games he was out, he's still putting up great numbers despite that. So I'm really happy to hear that quote from him, and I hope moving forward with the new regime, we stop doing this rotational captain bullshit. I'm tired of it.
It's well said. And Adam Hogue of NBC Sports Chicago, I think right after the game, to this quote pretty much, I think he said, if the Bears had more David Montgomerys and Roquan Smiths, they'd be a really good team. And It's very true. The leadership here is, it's palpable. Obviously coming from an outstanding player who was literally putting the offense on his back on Sunday against the Cardinals. Just professionalism at its finest. And the Bears need a lot more of that for sure.
No
Bears
question.
are...
this is exactly what the Bears were hoping for. The young guys starting to emerge as leaders, and their talent and leadership is exactly the sort of core that you can build around. In addition to Justin Fields, maybe Darnell Mooney, and some other young guys, they've got pieces to where a rebuild doesn't have to take as long as it did back in 2015, because they didn't have guys like this back then. So you've got your core that you can move forward with. What you need to do is really supplement it with some true blue chip talent, which I don't think Brian Pace really did enough of throughout the course. I mean, he had his opportunities in 2015, but he missed on Kevin White. You could say he missed on Leonard Floyd, but Leonard Floyd's a good player, but he's not the type of player that a top 10 pick should be. He missed on Trubisky, and I think those three misses, in addition to some of the other moves he's missed on as well, really is what caused the Bears to sort of ceiling when they did in 2018, rather than taking that next step towards competing for a Super Bowl afterwards. So, they've got enough pieces to really get this thing turned around. If not next year, then definitely in 2023, provided they get the coaching staff right and provided they start, building those young assets again that sort of have disappeared over the past year or so.
Cordell, love the comment, man. Yeah, Montgomery, he's been a lot of fun to cheer for. He was great 2 years ago. I mean, his rookie year, he was good, but he really emerged in his second year. And it's been really fun to see him grow into one of the best running backs in the NFL, but he doesn't get talked about a lot. So that could honestly work in the Bears' favor in contract negotiations, because they're, if he does want to stick around, if they offer him maybe a little bit over market value, They might be able to keep him, but this isn't the Bears' way. They dumped Cordero Patterson, and Cordero Patterson's having his best year as a pro. They're going to run with Herbert and go find another running back in the draft because that's the way the NFL operates. That's the way the Bears operate. And I know that he's great. Montgomery's, he's better than Jordan Howard. He reminds me a lot of Matt Forte. So they're very similar backs. I just don't know if they'll pay him. And I think with where they are with other needs on the offense, I don't see it happening. I just don't. I think that they'll go out and find somebody else and they'll ride Herbert. But this game, the Bears are 12.5-point underdogs at Lambeau. This is one of the largest spreads. Yeah, I mean, but it's one of like that opening wise. That's huge for the NFL, especially a team with 4 wins. Usually, you see that with a team like Jacksonville or Detroit with no wins or 1 win, whatever. This is one of the largest spreads in Matt Nagy's coaching regime. His 4 years at the Bears, being a minus 12.5-point dog in your 4th season, just goes how backwards this franchise has gotten under him and how it's just gotten worse every game. Do they stand a chance on Sunday at all?
I mean, it's any given Sunday, man. You just never know when a team is going to show up and shock another team that should beat them handily. I mean, nobody expected the Bears to win in 2015 when they went up to Lambeau, and that team was worse than this one, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. So anything's possible, but given the way the Packers have played lately, they're more talented. They've got the better quarterback. They're at home. They're rolling right now. So everything is in their favor. Coming off a bye, exactly. So everything is in their favor, even though they're still missing some guys. Their offensive line is banged up. Bakhtiari's still not back. Jenkins is done for the year. So if the defensive front 7 can get some heat on Rodgers and the Bears can run the ball and hit a few big plays somehow in the passing game, you never know. They might have a shot, but given the way this script always plays out, it might be close for a little while, but then Green Bay is going to pull away in the end, and it's going to be the same old story. So it's really difficult to see that changing this time around.
You know, it's interesting. Like, when I look at the game plan and how, to an extent, it was working out against the Cardinals on Sunday. I mean, if it wasn't for those turnovers, which obviously they happened and they were bad,
sure,
and there's big reasons that the Cardinals won, the Bears were playing them pretty well, I thought. You know, they were moving the ball on offense. The running game was working. You know, it was actually an interesting game, except for the turnovers. And so, to your point, I mean, sure, there's a chance. I mean, if everything goes well, I just think this team seems to just make that. They can't seem to make that one play.
No.
At
they're
key
not
situations.
just playing the other team, they're playing themselves, and that's always been their problem, especially under Matt Nagy. So, you know, until they stop shooting themselves in the foot, you can't expect them to be good teams.
Exactly. And, you know, if there's something to be said about, look, they're no longer even showing up in the hunt graphics anymore. So if you take that into account, and you know, maybe they play looser now that they don't really have any pressure per se, that, hey, playoffs are out of the question. You know, it's us against the world. You know, Rodgers owns us, and now we're going to his stadium. Like, maybe they play looser and they stop making some of those dumber mistakes, and they execute the way they probably should, and maybe they can compete in a good way. But I feel like something happens when they play Aaron Rodgers, man. There's something about him that just makes them mind fucking. It's
they're afraid of him. I mean, they'll never admit to it, but they play like they're afraid of him, and he's in their head. It's been that way, and this is why they need a new coach, somebody who can somehow break that
mental block.
Thank you. That's exactly what I was looking for. But, you know, they just haven't found that guy yet. Nagy's 1-6 against them. He hasn't been. What was so great about Lovey, he had his faults, but he embraced the rivalry. He understood the importance of the Packers. And while Aaron Rodgers, you know, still kind of had his way with the Bears, even during Lovey's final days, the Bears were always competitive in those games. He always took the Packers seriously. And the past few coaches just haven't done that. Trestman didn't do it. Fox didn't do it. And now Nagy hasn't done it. They need to find somebody who understands that the Packers rivalry matters. And until that happens, it's kind of hard to take the Bears seriously in this rivalry.
Yeah, I have a lot of friends who are Packers fans. I'm going to be north of the border this weekend. I'm going to be going up to Milwaukee for Marquette and UCLA on Saturday. And I'm going to be with some friends who are Packers season ticket holders. And, you know, they're good sports about it. But I have a couple friends who aren't good sports about it. And they're like, yeah, I'm waiting for this to be a rivalry again. And it pisses me off, man. They're right, though. Seriously, and this is the thing. Everyone that always wants to, I guarantee you, we're going to get the shots of the McCaskies, and nothing makes the McCaskies more mad than a loss to the Packers. Really, I don't buy it, because if they did, they'd start winning some fucking football games at Lambeau Field, and they just aren't doing that. And they didn't win. That's the thing. These games seem close, but they're actually not.
That's the thing.
The game with Fields starting a couple weeks ago, they played well for 2 quarters. They can't put it all together. It wasn't a close game. Rodgers dominated. He dominated. They won by 10, but it felt like a 30-point loss.
I think the Bears touchdown drive that put them down 17-14. I think that drive was like 10 minutes in game clock and like 16 plays or something. And they worked so hard to score a touchdown. And all of a sudden you have 8 minutes left or something. And, Packers have the ball and Soldier Field's loud. And they go down in like 5 plays and score a touchdown with Rodgers rushing and then screaming, "I own you."
It's like they have a whole part of their playbook that they saved for the Bears.
Exactly. It's just like you want, they literally have a section called gut punch. Yep. And okay, time for the gut punch, and there it is. It always. It's unbelievable. And
where's
honestly,
Xavier Crawford? Where's Duke Shelley? Oh, there. Okay.
but honestly, what's amazing is that no matter the coaching staff has plans for these exact situations. Matt LaFleur, Nathaniel Hackett. I mean, they have these combinations and orderings of plays and everything just ready to go in situations like, look, home crowd is cheering against us and they just closed the gap and there's a few minutes left in the 4th quarter and they're excited about their young quarterback. Fuck them. We're going to go score a touchdown in 5 plays. And they do. And it's over. It's unbelievable. It's so much. You have to respect it. Even if you're a diehard Bears fan, you hate the Packers, all that stuff. I get it. You can't look at them with anything other than just the utmost respect and just tipping your hat. It's unreal. I can't stop praising them because it's so hilarious.
They're a machine.
Exactly. It really is. They really are a machine.
Davante Adams over 1,000 yards again this year. He's missed a couple games. He's at 1,083 yards. I believe that's top 5 in the NFL. Aaron Jones, only 564 rushing yards this year. That's really because of Mr. A.J. Dillon, and I want to talk a little bit about him. Akiem Hicks is questionable, and if Akiem Hicks doesn't play, you can pretty much just kiss this goodbye, and that's why I'm going to say is the Packers have something in A.J. Dillon, and we've really seen that over the last couple weeks with what's-his-face being out with injury. Jones was out a couple weeks ago. He's back last week, and he'll play on Sunday. But with him out, you really got a glimpse into what they found in this Boston College kid. They call him Quadzilla. He's just massive. A.J. Dillon is a heck of a runner. He can pass catch. He's amazing in pass protection because he's so big, and he just runs dudes over. He's like a poor man's Derrick Henry. And without Akiem Hicks, that middle of the field, he's just going to run right over. That's exactly what teams have been doing to beat the Bears. Their run defense has disappeared. So, Akiem, please play. Make it bearable for us. I really hope he plays. Especially this could be his last game in the Bears-Packer rivalry, and I think he knows that. So this is a game that I hope a lot of these guys put it on the line because this truly is the last game of the season that matters for them. The Vikings, it doesn't matter. It's a game that the Bears have had the Vikings number for years. I'm not worried about them. Giants, as we said, doesn't matter. They stink too, and they're going to have a new head coach and a new everything else at some point in the next year, a new quarterback. And then the Seahawks are the Seahawks. They're not playing very well this year, and it's a game that battle of literally 2 last place teams, or you know what I mean. Last place team and a team that would be last place in most divisions if the Lions weren't there. But anyway, Justin Fields, he's playing. He's back. This is going to be one reason that I'm watching the game on Sunday. Is his first trip up to Lambeau, maybe his last encounter with Aaron Rodgers in this rivalry. We'll see, but this could be a shot where you want to see him beat him, because if you don't, then if he turns into something down the line, you'll just hear Packers say, "Well, he never beat Rodgers." This would be kind of a nice little futuristic type of bet, that when a little chip that we could all have on our shoulders if Fields were able to pull this one out.
I mean, Fields has nothing to lose at this point. The season's pretty much gone in terms of, getting to the playoffs. So he doesn't have to play with any sort of pressure. He's a rookie. He knows he's going to be here next year, probably with a new coaching staff. So
brand new wide receiver room,
new wide receivers, all that. So, he can feel free to take some chances, do the best he can to, attack the Packers at every opportunity. And if he can avoid turnovers, he might be able to put up some points. Green Bay's defense is good this year. It's been surprisingly good, considering the injuries they've had. So, it's one of those situations where when a rookie quarterback is going up against them, it's really tough to envision him having a good week. But, he played, decent against them in the first opportunity. And this time around, he has a better understanding of not just defenses in general, but he saw them once already. So if they can run the football and sort of take the pressure off him and, give him some play action opportunities, he might be able to have a big night.
Yeah, I'd love for this to be one of those games where the Bears just offense is on the field for a long time. Even if they don't end up scoring, even if we know they're going to lose. We know the Packers are probably going to score quickly. But I just like to see this offense on the field trying some things, Fields testing his boundaries. I just want to see some more of that because, again, it's going to be a slog these last 5 weeks, and then we have to wait all the way till September till Bears for Bears football. Can't talk today. Go. Yeah. But it would just be nice to see them execute, even if they have 4 long drives, that result in 20 points and they lose 30-20. I would like to see their offense on the field for 35, 40 minutes just because
Kevin Jenkins out there too. Give him some shots.
Some extra offensive lineman, heavy personnel packages. Sure.
Yeah. Something new. Not the same stuff. You're not playing you put it perfectly, Drew. You're not playing for anything right now. Go out, try some new things, get comfortable, get that confidence in your head to walk away with a win with a team that's Super Bowl hopeful this year on their home turf with that chip on your shoulder going into next year with a lot of those young guys. That would be great. I'm not putting any money on it. Matter of fact, I'm going to put all my money on the Packers to win this game because they're going to. But just go out and do something new. I don't want to see the same. It's just the same
Empty
thing
the playbook,
every week.
Man. Throw everything you've got at him. What do you have to lose at this point?
I liken this to 2016 when the Bears had Matt Barkley lighten up the scoreboard and the stat sheet against the Titans, the Washington. Random teams, man. It was fun to watch. I mean, there were actually
he played well against the Packers. People forget, he played very well in that game, and until Rodgers found Jordy Nelson deep, like he always seems to do. But the Bears were playing well in that game, and they had a chance to win it with Barkley. So why can't you do the same with Fields?
Bears fans actually thought at one point that Matt Barkley had deserved the opportunity to audition for the starting job. That's how he was playing, exciting football. He was putting up points, putting up yards. There was something to watch. You know what I'm saying? That's what I'm hoping, Fields turns into at least this Sunday, the rest of the season too.
Let's hear from QB1 ahead of today or ahead of Sunday's game.
You had said that the Bears-Packers rivalry will be back on the Bears side sooner than later. What does, obviously so early in your career, but what does the rivalry mean to you? And what does this game mean to you in making it sooner than later?
It's been a rivalry for a long time, and it's a big rivalry between both of us. So I know we're just gonna go out there and play our best, and of course try to come out with the win. I can't really give you more than that, but it's just that simple. We're just gonna go out there and give it our all and try to win the game.
Have there been discussion on the Aaron Rodgers "I still own you" comments at the end of the game at Soldier Field?
No.
How do you feel about everything being stacked against you this week, going on the road, going against a team with a better record, you're having to play hurt?
What do you feel? Good. I like it. I like it like that. I like it that way. So I feel great. I like being the underdog. I think it just gives me an extra chip on my shoulder, and I like when people doubt me. So that just gives me extra motivation. So I love it.
He's just such an easy guy to root for, man. I know that that could be a cliche thing to say, but when he says it, I believe him. It's not just some random backup QB like Gardner Minshew or, Mike White going up there and saying, oh yeah, man, I've worked so hard for this. I love being the underdog. I've been the underdog my whole career. And people have doubted me. It's I'm happy for you guys. You got spots in the NFL and you worked really hard to get there. I'm not demoralizing that, but what I'm saying is it feels different when Fields says it. It feels like it means something, and it feels like he's not bullshitting you. everything he says up there is so like candid and just so, I don't know, just so like, what's the word I'm looking for?
Straightforward, matter of fact.
Yeah, it's just so. I'll think of the word in a second here, but it's so straightforward. Yeah, like you said, it's just not. There's no.
Matter of
There's
fact,
no gray area. You know what he means when he says it, and I believe him, and I really I want him so badly on Sunday to just ball out. 300 yards passing, 2 touchdowns, no picks. Just even if you lose, just go crazy, young man. Just do it. And I can say that because he's younger than me. Proud old guy moment here. Yeah, Justin Fields is younger than me, so I'm at that age now. Sorry, I know you guys. I don't mean to call you old.
Jeez. Oh my God.
The thing with Fields is he hasn't been an underdog for most of his career. He wasn't in high school. He wasn't for most of college. So when he is an underdog, you have to remember he's a competitor and he takes that stuff personal. When people are counting him out, considering all he's done and all he's shown he's capable of doing. So he takes that sort of stuff personal. And so when he is an underdog, he absolutely loves it because he gets a chance to show people that they were wrong in ever doubting him. He's kind of that, I hate using this name, but it's kind of that Michael Jordan syndrome. He always loves finding ways to have people view as if they're disrespecting him. And he just uses that as more self-motivation. So this is exactly the kind of guy you want as your quarterback, the guy who takes it all so seriously and wants to beat everybody all the time. And, when you have a guy like that, eventually, once you get a team around him, you're going to start winning a lot of football games.
I loved his answer to, has there been any discussion about the whole Aaron Rodgers Ione comment? Nah.
He's so short with some of his answers when he hears
I love it.
He's like,
what are you talking about?
Somebody actually pointed this out on Twitter where they said they love how when he senses a question that's sort of half-baked, he just gives them a very short, very blunt answer and then moves.
Yeah, that was Herb Lawrence of The Score pointed that out. Yeah, I saw, and I totally agree. It is so refreshing. Like, I don't know, don't give me any BS answers, but also don't give me what the PR people fed you either.
Yep.
He's not about that word salad.
Right.
It's like when Jay Cutler used to answer questions like that, and people would be like, "Oh, he's such a dick." Like, no, he heard a question didn't like. No. It's fun. It's refreshing.
I worked in sports PR, and I listening to him talk, I know that he's saying certain things. He's a rookie, but he's not. He's on that good line where he's telling the truth. He's not being a complete and total, what, like Rodgers is all the time, obeying his own rules, lives by his own life. But he's also telling you what's legit, and I believe him when he says that he likes being an underdog. And you got your wish, young man. 12.5-point dogs in Lambeau against a team that's really hard to beat at home, and a quarterback that's 22-5 against you in his career. It's going to be tough, but guess what? Rodgers is also one of the lowest rated QBs this year when under pressure. Guess who leads the league, the NFC in sacks? Robert Quinn. Robert Quinn shows up with a healthy Akiem Hicks. You might have yourselves a ball game. Akiem Hicks has had a few weeks off. Anything can happen. Allen Robinson expects to return. That's pretty big. Obviously, you really miss him on third down situation. I know he hasn't had a big year, Bears fans. I know you guys are down on him. I know that it's, he's never been the big play receiver. Yeah, okay, well, you really want Rodney Adams or Cole Kmet going out there and catching third down passes? Because we saw how that went. Yes, it was raining, but for God's sakes, man, I could have caught those balls. I would have caught those balls.
And what really sucks is it really felt like him and Fields were starting to click in Pittsburgh, and then all of a sudden he hurts his hamstring, and it's like, oh, man, just when it was starting to go, too. Yep. So you really hope
it's been that year.
It's been that kind of year. Exactly. So you really hope that that chemistry is still there, even though they haven't had a chance to work with each other the past few weeks, but it was starting to go. So, if Justin can get some protection and A-Rob's hammy is healthy, they might be able to connect on a couple of big plays.
And now that we have a high level understanding of what the salary cap might be in 2022, right? I think it's going to jump to the fact where the Bears have about 40-ish million in cap space.
It's around 208.5, I think, was the million mark.
Roughly.
So they have around $42-ish million. It's a lot, but considering how many in-house free agents they have,
Right.
depending on who they bring back, they're not going to have as much spending money as you think, because they're going to have to devote some of that to guys they want to extend. Maybe they try to bring back A-Rob, or if not, they're going to have to pursue some receivers in free agency to help out Justin, because then all you've got is Mooney.
For sure.
You don't have any first-round picks, and not a lot of draft picks in general, so they're going to have to spend some money. So it's one of those things where they're going to have to be careful and be thrifty in certain areas and try to piece together a roster that's competitive until 2023 when the cap really jumps and they're back in the first round again.
Yeah, I'm very interested to know. Say that again.
They just have to get younger.
Oh yeah.
One way or another, they just have to get younger. We're seeing these injuries mount.
The good news is, I mean, their core is their core, I guess the players that they're going to be mostly relying on is relatively young. Obviously their performance fluctuates from week to week. Like Cole Kmet looked awesome for a couple of weeks, and then all of a sudden he does what he did against Arizona, and all of a sudden it's like, Kmet, what are you doing? So the reality is, if Fields is good, the Bears are going to be fine. Like they will be absolutely in the hunt at the very least, even if they have a bare bones roster. If Fields is good, they're going to be good. But we'll have to see really until next year to see how he progresses in the offseason. But to the point on Robinson, this is going to be essentially him coming back and auditioning for whether it's a extension with the Bears or with another team.
How about the Packers?
Possibly the Packers.
Guess who's going to be in the market for a wide receiver?
I don't think so. Not with their cap issues.
They have like negative $33 million in cap space.
And they're going to try and probably keep Devontae Adams. So they're not going to pay two guys, like that. So I don't think he's going to the Packers, but I do think he's going to try and go to a contender that might have some money.
Yeah. Yeah. It'll be interesting. I mean, it's a big spot for him, prime time. Hopefully he can develop that chemistry with Justin Fields, and the Bears need it to move that offense and just show some progress.
The last thing I'll say about Allen Robinson before we get into some happy thoughts before the end of this show, I saw a couple guys with a lot of followers on Twitter who are Bears, followers and fan folk and everything like that, saying, oh, it's really convenient for Allen Robinson to be out right now because he's in a contract year and with this hamstring injury. Sit down and delete your Twitter. I seriously, I'm not laughing about that. I think it's absolute BS. I think Max Marksom or whatever, I don't know his last name or whatever, but he was tweeting, and I'm calling you dead out right now. Like, Allen Robinson was not sitting because he didn't want to play or he was in a contract year. He would have sat out the whole year. You know what he's put up with this organization being bad at him in his prime? You're out of your mind. This guy's given his heart and soul to this offense. He's been one of the more exciting players we've had in the last couple of years. Your take is garbage. And I honestly, this is an Allen Robinson Stan podcast. We've been saying that since we started here. I really hope he gets a contract from somebody, but that was just an absolutely garbage take. And I saw it from a couple people that have a lot of followers on Twitter. And if they're watching the show right now, hope you guys know that's not cool. And Allen Robinson is a really good football player, and we don't root for injuries, and we're not saying that he's going to be out. It really ticked me off to see that. Really, really made me mad. But,
yeah, questioning professionalism from one of the most professional players, proven professional players. I mean, you look at last year, he played the whole year without the guarantee of a contract. I mean, last year would have been the time if he was going to do that. And he didn't. He played. He was 100% professional. I don't like when people do that. It is aggravating for sure. To your point, definitely hoping Robinson gets that contract. He deserves a big one. He probably won't get the $20 million he's seeking, but he deserves some long-term security.
3 years ago today, Bears beat the Rams 15-6 at Soldier Field. This was a really fun time.
I remember this game, man. The vibes after this one, taking down Sean McVay and those upstart, that crazy offense of the Rams. Ooh, this is demolition.
Bounced out of bounds inside. Look out! Safety. Eddie Goldman comes through the middle to plant Goff in the end last week. So they give it to him again. They don't, and then Trubisky throws, and that's caught by Bradley Soul, lineman, eligible for the touchdown. Goff has time, fires, and that one is picked off. Kyle Fuller. That's an exclamation point of every. Goff, can the Rams stay alive? They can. Another interception. Montgomery this time. 4 picks.
Oh, man.
Fun
You
times,
guys hear
man.
that? You guys hear that crowd?
Mm-hmm.
Been a while.
When have we heard a crowd like that in the last 2 years? We haven't.
The last
Man.
time I remember a crowd, well, obviously not last year, but I think the last time we heard a crowd like that was the Cowboys game in 2019.
Yeah,
That was a fun night too.
Yeah.
that was a fun.
Kick their butts.
Christopher, great comment
fun.
here. Where's that Eddie? Yeah, man. Seriously, Eddie Goldman just disappeared after he got COVID, and I don't know if he just got older or something, and not
He's
playing
played
last
better
year.
recently, but he's not the player he was a couple of years ago.
That
So
pass rush.
maybe that'll come back, but
Tell you what, I think they really. I know they didn't have the money for it, and I know they had to spend in other places. But man, Roy Robertson Harris, man, they miss him. He's better than Angelo Blackson. Blackson's had a good year, but having Roy Robertson Harris in there to be able to rotate in and out with some of those guys, I mean, that their depth was just that they didn't have a bad player on that defense. Everybody was a starter in that league, and I believe they had 4 Pro Bowlers on that defense that year. It was Mack, it was Fuller, Trevathan. I believe he was a Pro Bowler,
Mack,
and
Fuller,
Hicks.
Jackson, probably, right?
Oh, Eddie Jackson. Yeah, not yeah, Jackson was the other. I think it was just 4. I can't exactly remember, but
probably.
Yeah, that was
Good times.
It was a good time. Why are we watching the game on Sunday?
Because
Why
we
are
have
you guys
to.
watching? You're because you have to.
Because we have to.
Eric.
pretty much Justin Fields. Can he take another step? Can he play, well against a good team? And if he does, great, even if they lose, because I'm just in it to see his progression. I know he's not going to be under this coaching staff next year. It's pretty much a given at this point. So can he just get himself to play well? Can he protect those ribs and avoid, more injuries? And, that's basically what I'm looking at. Watching the young guys. That's what it comes down to. Larry Borum, Darnell Mooney, Cole Kmet, Justin Fields, maybe Tevin Jenkins gets in there. Maybe, who knows, maybe they flex Daz Newsome onto the roster and he can get a couple of looks. So, we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I'm not sure why we haven't seen Daz yet. I know you've pointed that out in a couple of your tweets the last couple of weeks. And again, I think, Rodney Adams had a strong preseason, but man, I mean, he's just not those drops in the other game. We've seen enough, it's a make or miss league, and you get your shots and you drop those passes. You're right. I'm all in for seeing a little bit of Daz Newsome. I'm watching because I love this team. And I'm tired of getting embarrassed by Green Bay, and watching those highlights from 2018. That was a year that they should have beat them twice. I was at that game. The last win the Bears have had, I was there over the Packers, was in 2018 when they won the division, and they even tried to choke that one away, but a pick by Eddie Jackson in the end zone off of Rodgers, a very rare interception, sealed it.
Costly one too, because he got injured on that play.
Right, and it was just, I don't know, those vibes. They were just immaculate. I mean, everybody, we all want a winning team, and I think Fields is our good step to getting there. But this team has pride. We know these guys have. We heard David Montgomery talk. We heard Fields talk in the show. We know what Roquan's been saying. Robert Quinn is having the year of his life. Some of these guys are playing for their Pro Bowl. They want to make Pro Bowl because they want to get incentives, more money. So let's see it. Don't get embarrassed on Sunday night. Do not just. No, none of this 42-0 at halftime like we had a few years ago when you're this much of an underdog. Go out there, put some points on the board, and try and win this game. That's why I'm watching. I think I'm going to talk myself into it for the rest of the weekend that they're going to have a shot to at least stay alive in this game. But that being said, I don't see it, but I'm going to talk myself into it. I think that Fields, his first game at Lambeau, let's see how he shines in the bright lights. It's going to be a tough place to play. That place is going to be loud, 81,000 strong in 25-degree weather, some snow in the forecast too. It's going to be a fun environment, especially with the Packers looking to put a real, they're looking to bookend their NFC Championship, NFC North title, another one. So they're looking to really bookend that with a win. They'll pretty much all but seal it with a win over the Bears. So we'll see. That's why I'm watching. Let's take your questions. Got a lot of them rolling in here. Start all the way up at the top. We touched on this earlier, but do you think the Bears will keep Montgomery? I don't. What do you guys think?
That's hard to answer because we don't know who's going to be in charge next year, because it might be a GM that didn't draft Montgomery. It'll be a coach that didn't, pound the table for him when they drafted him. So, well, I think they'll view Montgomery as a valuable asset for 2022. Considering the state of the salary cap, I struggle to believe that they're going to offer a running back an extension when they've got so many other, contracts they got to get out from under just so they can rebuild, the payroll and, get the picks back flowing in. So no, I don't think they are going to extend him unless he has an outstanding year and he's willing to take a deal that's, considerably friendly for the organization. But running backs just don't get paid these days, and you can reload that position, pretty well, especially when you've got a guy on the roster who might already be a pretty good player in Khalil Herbert. So my answer is no, I don't expect that to happen.
I agree. I mean, the running back is just not a premier position. So, it's one of those things where it would be hard to justify. Now, David Montgomery is an excellent running back, and if there is a running back you might pay for, you'll consider paying for, then it would be David Montgomery. But they already sent out a contract to Tariq Cohen, and while he does a lot of different things, not just running back, you don't know when he's gonna play again. Hopefully, it is next year, but that would be 2 years removed from his last NFL game. So, you have money tied up there. Montgomery, again, is an excellent piece. You hope you have possible cover depth there with Khalil Herbert, because they need to, first of all, the investment needs to go towards the offensive side of the ball. So in that sense, it would make a little bit of sense. But you think about the offensive line that they need to invest in. You think about potentially saving money for Justin Fields if he's good the next couple of years. They need 2 to 3 wide receivers next year, possibly an extension for either Cole Kmet or Darnell Mooney. So there's just, it wouldn't make sense. I don't know where you squeeze that cap in. So unfortunately, I don't see it happening.
Isn't Thomas Graham playing on Sunday? I don't know. Let's look at the injury report. I haven't heard, but
he was protected.
Yeah, he was protected on the practice squad, which leaves it open for the fact that they might flex him. But considering they added that fullback recently on the practice squad, which makes you wonder if they're gonna flex him. So that would leave only one more guy that would flex. So it is either going to be Graham or Daz Newsome. So with Robinson returning, it might be Graham, because they need as much help as they can get at cornerback. And, whatever depth you can get, considering the injury situation, in addition to the lack of depth at cornerback, would make sense.
Yeah, that's the thing. That's why I wanted to check the injury report to see if there was anybody on there. But no, I mean, we really didn't see, we really didn't see any reason for him not to start on Sunday, give him a shot on Sunday. I mean, anybody else tired of seeing Xavier Crawford? I'm kind of over that. He's worse at tackling than Eddie Jackson is. So I don't know if he's playing, Bryce, but I mean, certainly, again, this goes along with the theme of the show, right? We want to see more things happen. We want to see some different things. Maybe if they're going to throw Daz Newsome out there, throw out another rookie. This guy was a 6th-round pick, wasn't he? Thomas Graham.
Mm-hmm. Both were.
So, yeah. So you spent draft capital on him. May as well try and use him. Let's see. Got a Vikings fan in the chat, Neil. Yeah, your Vikings are kicking ass right now. I saw that they had a Delvin Cook when he's got a torn labrum and a separated shoulder. He's got 150 yards and 2 touchdowns at halftime. Jeez, how did
their
the Bears
offensive
lose?
line's playing great?
How did they lose?
Playing really well. I think, is TJ Watt out again or now?
Yeah,
game?
He left the game. So
left the game, and
think
Big Ben
he
just
started
got
the
picked.
Oh, he did. Yeah, Ben might. I saw our guy Stevie posted that he might get a mercy benching. I don't know. Their quarterback situation's pretty tough over there.
They're dead.
In a normal situation, you would bench him, but are you really want to go for Mason Rudolph or Haskins? Probably not.
Oof.
Well, we have a Daz Newsome sighting. I don't think so.
Probably not.
No, I doubt it. We just haven't seen him all year.
Yeah.
I think they will be trying to win this game.
I'll say this: probably better chance of Daz Newsome than Rodney Adams at this point. Can't get over that drop. Oof.
That was so bad.
Your one opportunity, and you absolutely blow it. I mean, that was painful.
Tough to watch.
Thanks for sending in those questions, guys. As always, we do like a little question section at the end. If you didn't get your question answered, these guys both do mailbags every week. You can find those on sportsmockery.com. We are presented by sportsmockery.com. Drew's got our final take tonight before we say goodbye, and then we'll recap, obviously, Packers, Bears sometime next week, if not on Sunday after the game. Might be a little late, so maybe Monday morning or Monday evening, rather, when we're all back from work. But before we do that, before we say our goodbyes, Drew has our final take. Take it away, my man.
You got it. Final take. I'd like to talk about the next possible head coach of the Chicago Bears. I think by this point, everyone's in agreement that Matt Nagy's time in Chicago is running out. Could be as soon as after this Sunday night in Lambeau Field. If the Bears get blown out, very well could be given his walking papers on Monday. If not, the end of the season is almost a guarantee. So that's led to a bunch of questions. Who's going to be the next head coach of the Chicago Bears? What should they be looking for? I think everyone at this point is almost overcorrecting to the fact that the Bears took a chance on a young offensive mind who had come from an innovative system in Kansas City, and now they're scared of that approach. It's like, oh, that didn't work out. We can't go that way. We need a different kind of head coach. And this term CEO has been thrown around recently. And while that's a very good thing to have, having a CEO type of head coach, what that really means is that someone who can get your team prepared to play, who knows how to build a great staff, communicate and connect with your players, and administer a discipline and accountability when necessary. Coaches like Mike Tomlin, John Harbaugh, Ron Rivera have kind of fit that mold for the last several years in the NFL. Mike Vrabel starting to take that role a little bit in Tennessee. And now everyone's saying, oh, the Bears should be looking at that kind of coach no matter what side of the ball they fit on. In theory, sure, that makes sense. However, the way this league is going, all about offense, all about the quarterback. The best possibility for the Bears, if everything all else equal, should be an offensive-minded head coach. And here's why. You look at, take Baltimore, for instance, right now. John Harbaugh, head coach, excellent guy. Greg Roman's all of a sudden being considered for head coaching capabilities and possibilities. If he's hired away, what happens to Lamar Jackson? That entire offense is designed for the few things that Lamar Jackson does well. He's being asked to throw a little bit more now, and he sucks. And always has, really, but at throwing. But now, if you take him away and the next coach is not able to design an offense around what Lamar Jackson can do well, that he hasn't improved on anything else, what's going to happen to that team? So you don't want to take away that link if you can help it from that quarterback. Now, that's got to be the kind of what the team keeps in mind going forward, in my opinion. The best possibility for the Bears is finding an offensive mind who they can pair with their quarterback, Justin Fields, if he happens to be the guy for the next several years. Who is that going to be? Brian Daboll, Kellen Moore. There's a lot of question marks with the candidates, but if all else, again, goes well, the Bears are best suited in keeping that an offensive mind who they can pair with Justin Fields.
Well said. Yeah, well said. Give me a name. Who do you want now? Who's your coach? Who's on your coaching carousel this week?
Sean Payton, man. Let's do it. Let's go get him. If
I would run a naked lap around the city of Chicago.
Look,
you wouldn't be the only one.
You would not be the only one.
Insane. They would be a contender immediately with Sean Payton.
Oh, 100%.
I could turn off games in the third quarter with Sean Payton if they had a lead. I wouldn't even need to worry about it. That'd be great. It's not going to happen.
I wish it were the possibility, but if not, one of my dark horses very recently is Scott Turner of Washington. I think he's doing a very good job with Taylor Heineke in Washington. But quite honestly, at this point, Josh McDaniels is probably my favorite now. I mean, I'm seesawing between several candidates almost every week. Brian Daboll was the hot guy, then Kellen Moore. Joe Brady was there for a while. Mike Kafka has been discussed a little bit. I am out on Eric Bieniemy and have been forever. Byron Leftwich, you don't know how much you can separate, his success versus Tom Brady. And I think Tom Brady is really the engine, but Leftwich has possibility. It's hard, but I think Josh McDaniels makes a lot of sense.
That it's hard. And just imagine with George not knowing what he's doing, what he's probably going through. He doesn't know who he wants to pick either. And that's the worry with all this is
agreed.
All these guys in the coaching carousel is pretty crazy.
the truth is the core of this team's success is going to be Justin moving forward, because that defense needs to be rebuilt. So until then, it's going to be the quarterback that decides how many games you win. So you need somebody that can maximize what he does. And I understand that a lot of people are, very hesitant with McDaniels because of what happened in Denver and because of that entire weird situation with Indianapolis a couple of years ago. Justifiably so. But the one thing above all else is that McDaniels knows offense. He's proven it for well over a decade. You give him a decent quarterback and some weapons, he's going to score points, and he's done it his entire career. So, you have to be willing to take the risk. There might be some character question marks, but at the end of the day, he's going to score points and he's going to make Justin a better quarterback. So I would be perfectly satisfied with Josh McDaniels as the head coach.
I just can't get over that game plan against the Bills. Everybody in the stadium, in the nation, knew that the Patriots are not going to throw the ball. Mac Jones does not have the arm for those elements. And I like Mac Jones coming out of school. He does not have the arm. I didn't expect 3 passes. I expected maybe 10 max. I mean, Mitch Trubisky threw 7 passes in a win against Carolina one year.
Did you guys see Belichick trolling everybody before the game with that Navy midshipman, face cover? That was a total hint of what was coming, and nobody picked up on it. It was
loved it. I love it. It was amazing.
I do love him getting a little bit lighter with age and starting to, laugh off at some of those things, because I didn't notice that, but that is hilarious.
Amazing.
It's always been funny. It's just he's usually not funny with the media, but when he's able to relax and behind the scenes, he's actually a really funny guy.
That story by, I think it was Seth Wickersham, I can't remember, of ESPN, where that talked about his personality and some of the things that he's done, just as a jokester. Amazing stories. I can't remember if it was ESPN or if it was The Athletic, and I apologize to the publisher of that story.
It's one of those too, but you've heard the stories for years.
Amazing.
Belichick has a sense of humor that people can tend to miss.
It's incredible. So that was fun, and I mean, everyone knows you're running the ball, and they have no answers. The run designs, creative, kept them off balance. Just
basically,
awesome.
The offensive line kicked their ass. That's basically what it came down to. It was man on man, and New England won almost every time.
Attitude.
I hope Buffalo enjoyed that AFC title berth, because guess what? Patriots are back.
Yeah.
And they're back.
Doesn't make any sense.
They might win the AFC. They look like the best team in the AFC right now, and it's not particularly close.
And it makes no sense to me. It just doesn't make sense, and yet here they are. It's incredible.
I'm not buying it. They're playing well right now, but the way they're constructed usually doesn't, reach the Super Bowl,
Generally.
in my opinion. So,
speaking of a little fun for Packers hate week, somebody tweeted out, Democratic lawmakers proposing a bill that would create a penalty for sending unsolicited dick pics. And did Brett Favre inspire this legislation? So
probably, yeah.
This is true. This is what I was laughing at while you were doing your final take. Dude, if you guys aren't on Twitter already that are watching the show right now, if you're watching it from YouTube or Facebook, wherever you may find us, get on Twitter. There's really good content. It's where you can find one, you can follow us. We just hit 300 followers today on our show, which is great, but you can find content like this. Just classic. Like Aaron Rodgers is just this actually happened. Obviously it's photoshopped the helmet, but he did show his foot on a Zoom call, and the memes were great. And you can also find people making fun of Brett Favre's mistake, where he got in trouble for that as a young football player, sending unsolicited pictures.
He wasn't that young.
Yeah, you're right. He wasn't that young.
He wasn't that young. That was in New York, right? That happened in New York with that. He was. I can't remember. I think it was with a reporter. Unfortunately,
he did that. He did that too. The ending of the Big Show in Milwaukee. Their 2 to 6 show on 105, or it's now 12:50 a.m. The Fan. They end all of their shows with hello. All right, have a good day. Like, and it's Brett Favre. It's Brett Favre's voicemail to his, like, that girl that he left. The pictures on the phone.
thank you to Chris for clarifying. Yeah, it was with the Jets, and I just looked it up. It's Jen Sturger was the reporter who was the unfortunate recipient of those. Yeah, man, oh man, that was a while ago too. Sheesh.
Brett.
He's
missed.
Well,
yeah. Bears Packers Sunday Night Football 7:20. You got to watch 2 back-to-back weeks of Bears in prime time, the last 2 of the year. We'll see how that goes. Aaron's going to be healthy. He's not practicing, but he's going to be healthy. Justin Fields is back. Allen Robinson is back. Maybe we'll see Akiem Hicks. Bears starting to get a little bit healthier. This is the last game of the season that matters to them. Let's hope.
Until the next one. Sorry.
They play the Vikings. I don't really give a what
29.
I don't care what happens.
Look,
This is the last game of the season that matters.
Here's my actual final take now that we went a little bit longer. The Vikings are up 29-0 in the third quarter. The Steelers tied the Lions, and the Packers beat the Steelers, and yet the Steelers,
and the Bengals absolutely tattooed the Steelers as well, man. They're falling apart.
What a league. What a league.
It's been a weird year.
Absolutely.
I'm tired of it, and I want it to be over. I love it too, but I'm tired of this year. I want it to be over. I'm done. I'm done with the same stuff. Go back, rewatch our show. Follow us at Club Dub. Follow us. These are our Twitter handles right here in the bottom left-hand corner. Go ahead, give us all follows right now. We'll have some great content during Sunday. We might even do a Twitter space. Who knows? We got to do one of those. Get some more people in there listening to us. But Bears Packers Sunday. Enjoy it. Rivalry game nonetheless. I know the Bears are yeah. They're 12.5-point dogs. Let's hope they keep it even. But
endure would be a better word than
persevere. Exactly.
Yeah, we'll all be enduring together, and that's why again we'll have a good time on Twitter on Sunday during the game to kind of keep the mood alive and well. But thank you guys for your comments. We always appreciate those. Thank you for tuning in every week. We got a couple guys like Chris who are tuning in every week. We really appreciate you guys. So until next week. For Eric and Drew, I'm Kevin. This is the Club Dub Podcast presented by Sports Mockery. See you.
See you guys. How anticlimactic, Kevin. We're still rolling.